1460 WVOX.
Now back to Lynn's Warriors with Lynn Shaw on 1460 WVOX.
This is Lynn Shaw on 1460 AM WVOX. It is an honor, Warriors, to bring you the fierce and brave Charlotte Laws. She is a warrior in the movement to get non-consensual images taken down from the internet and holding those responsible and getting results. Charlotte Laws and her daughter Kayla can be seen right now in the 3-part streaming true crime docuseries on Netflix called The Most Hated Man on the Internet. Charlotte is here to discuss her journey and explain to us exactly what happened to her family and how she took action. She's a warrior and helped shut down a criminal. Please follow Charlotte Laws at charlottelaws.com. She's on every platform available, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. Charlotte Laws, welcome to the Warriors.
Hi, how are you doing?
I just love you, Charlotte Laws. I'm so happy you're with us. You've been on so many different programs, and now you're here with us on the Warriors. I want to start with, it's your story. Tell us what happened. Go.
Well, my daughter had taken pictures in her room, and one of them was topless, and she sent them to her computer, to her email, because her phone got full, and because she wanted to save them, and never intended to show the topless picture to anybody. And then after that, she was hacked, and then after that, her topless picture ended up on the most notorious revenge porn website called Is Anyone Up? And along with her name, her city, and her social media link. And she was at work at a waitress job when she got a phone call from one of her friends telling her that she was on this website. And she was just completely distraught and freaked out and didn't know what to do. You know, one of the things about victims is they just a lot of times don't feel they can fight for themselves. Right. And she called me and told me what was happening, and I had never heard of revenge porn until that moment. So that's how it started.
And this is back in, is it 2010 this started?
It was 2012, actually, when, at the beginning of 2012, like the first week of January of 2012 when it happened.
And we know, Charlotte Laws, that so much has changed in the last decade with all of this online revenge porn, as we're used to calling it. But you know what? I had a guest on last week, a victim, a survivor of this, and she was telling me it triggers us. We don't call it that anymore. Well, I didn't know this. They're calling it image-based sexual abuse.
Yeah, that's the new term.
That's the new term.
And some people were calling it non-consensual pornography prior to that. It's just difficult because the media and the public know it as revenge porn.
Exactly.
So when you talk about it, people get confused if you use a different term at this point. I'm sure down the road that other term will become accepted and used a lot.
We hope, but we don't know, because you're correct about the revenge porn term. Now, let me tell you, you have been, I can't even keep track of your bio. You've been everything from a cab driver, private eye, a Los Angeles City Commissioner. You've been a sidekick to an Elvis impersonator. You've done it all. I think this is what prepared you to be such a warrior in fighting to get these images, taken down. Tell us what happened. What did you do? You gathered the evidence, and then what did you do?
Yeah, I started investigating the website, and in the meantime, my daughter saw that one of her friends was also on the site, and she found out her friend had also been hacked. So here I knew only 2 people on that site, both had been hacked, so I assumed there might be a hacking scheme. And so what I started doing is calling some of the victims on the site, and I ended up calling 40 victims, and I found out 40% of them had been hacked, and we knew some of them were by the same hacker. And the reason why this was important is because we wanted to give our information to law enforcement, and there was no law against revenge porn at the time. So hacking, of course, was a crime, and so I was trying to gather as much evidence as possible. And we first went to LAPD, and they did the victim blaming, which was extremely common back then.
Yes.
And the female detective said to my daughter, "Why would you take a picture like this if you didn't want it on the internet?" And so that was disappointing. And then I contacted the FBI, and luckily were able to convince them to come to the house. And by that point, I had a 12-inch file, and I handed it to them, and I had victims all over the country. And luckily, they agreed to take the case. It took some, pushing, and
no, it
they
took
came
you,
back to the house
Charlotte
3
Laws.
times.
No, it took you being a warrior, being relentless, just going, 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 because, part of the predators, part of all these schemes, they exhaust people. So people don't, they're too embarrassed, they don't follow through. But you truly, you amaze me because you got this done. Now, let me ask you, what is going on today with, I don't like to say his name, this Hunter Moore? He went to jail.
Well,
what happened?
Yeah, he only went to jail for a couple of years. I know. So he got a very light sentence. He was originally looking at 42 years in prison, but he ended up doing a plea deal and got a couple of years. And it was more like a summer camp because I understand that the so-called prisoners could just go up to the store unsupervised and then come back to the location, which was kind of more of a drug and alcohol rehab center than an actual prison. But he is out. He is back on various social media platforms. And he's not doing revenge porn, to my knowledge, but he is spewing hatred and making anti-gay comments and anti-black comments and anti-woman comments and on and on. So he's the same guy. He's not remorseful. He's never apologized. He blames everybody except himself. And he says the only thing he would have done differently is he would have jacked it up 10 times harder, which I don't even know what that means. Because when this was happening, it got crazy. I was getting death threats. I got computer viruses. I even had a stalker.
I was just going
to
say, you had a stalker, right? Come to your house.
Yeah, and he had this group called the Family, and he was the father, and they were the children, and so they used this Charles Manson language, and his followers would say things like, "I will kill for you, Father. What do you want me to do?" And he would encourage people to try to get people fired or drive them to suicide, and so it was really a site about hatred. It was not about nude pictures. It was about bullying. It was about, trying to destroy lives, and he called himself a professional life ruiner. So, it was really, really a hard battle because not only did I have his people after me, which was very scary because they're anonymous, you don't know who they are, but you also had society against us because that's when victim blaming was such, so prominent. And, regular people, the media were glorifying Hunter Moore. Oh, wow, isn't this a cool business model? Wow, Hunter Moore. I mean, the politicians, they didn't want a law in place. And so as I was, I got my daughter's picture down finally, and then I kept going and, to get the other victims off that site and to get the site down. And then started meeting with legislators to try to get laws passed in various states as well as a law, a federal law, which is what we really need.
Warriors, we're talking with Charlotte Laws. Right now you can watch her and her daughter Kayla on Netflix in a 3-part streaming true crime docuseries called The Most Hated Man on the Internet. So you're aware of the Protect Act that we are working on right now, because we need you, Charlotte Laws, to be part of this.
Oh, yeah, I mean, definitely. And I really hope it goes somewhere. It's funny because it's very similar to the law that the actual porn industry had in place, which was 18 U.S.C. 2257. And that was in place for 30 years. And the porn industry was very upset about the revenge porn, outlets because it was giving a bad name, and also because they had to adhere to this indexing where they had to have licenses and they had to have consent forms. The revenge porn was just wild, wild west doing whatever they wanted. So this particular law is very similar to that law that the porn industry had in place for 30 years up until 2018. And I really want a federal law to pass. We have tried on 3 occasions over the past 8 years, and unfortunately nothing has passed. So I'm hoping that this particular bill will move forward and end up, getting something that covers the entire country.
We're working very hard on it. I'll talk to you more about that because we need you to be part of this. How is Kayla doing these days?
She's doing much better. She's, it's always been very hard for Eve and talk about the issue. She didn't originally want to be in the documentary. In fact, she decided on the very last day of taping to do a half day, and she had refused up until then. But she's married now. She just got married a few months ago, and she's doing great. I mean, she's, and she is, leaning into it now. She understands the importance of the issue and getting the information out there and educating. And so she's kind of leaning into it more than she was before. She didn't like going public with it before because she felt that it would hurt her career. So, and that people wouldn't want to work with her. She's a real estate agent, and she was worried about that. But she's doing great.
Perfect. Charlotte Laws, you're also a wonderful author, so I want everybody to go to charlottelaws.com and look at all the different things you do. and promote your books and buy your books. What can I say? You truly are a warrior. Thank you for being at the forefront and showing others that they can and must take action and stand up to these online abuses. The 3-part docuseries with Charlotte and her daughter Kayla right now streaming Netflix called The Most Hated Man on the Internet, and I can attest it is riveting. I watched all 3 episodes in one sitting. The website charlottelaws.com. Take care, Charlotte, and thank you. Hopefully we'll speak again soon.